Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Now What Next Steps podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. This podcast is a supplemental podcast where we talk about what happened on the Sunday morning sermon. So if you haven't listened to the sermon yet, press pause on this podcast and go listen to that sermon. You can find it on this channel or at the Malibu Pacific Church website. Hey, everybody, it's me, Joel. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, so you're obviously still listening to this podcast, you crazy little person. I don't know. It's weird to say those things, right? Andy's here too, everybody.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Or whatever day you're listening to this.
It could be a Tuesday. Who knows? Yeah, any of these days. But hey, we are on our brand new series called Vacation Mode.
Yeah.
It is session number 1 this past week. Vacation Mode. Do you want to give just like an overarching, like what this sermon series is about? Because we hear Vacation Mode and people thought the church was going to be closed for this next month.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had a full Sunday, so some people didn't get the memo.
Exactly.
It was a really great Sunday. I know a lot of people watching online, so maybe some of you, and then had a lot of people here. But we knew people would be going on vacation, and Joel, you're a part of this too. Our thought process was, what do we need to do to prepare on vacation? So I'm picking up on the two words. Vacation this week and next week when we go on vacation, how to be on vacation, how to live a life on vacation. Because when we go on vacation, we are getting away. We're spending more time with people that we love, hopefully. We may take a tour, so that's week 3. And we need to learn to love the people that we're with. And those are the ones that God put in our lives. So this last week, I was using the word vacation, but I was using it interchangeably with Sabbath. Because getting away, stopping everything that we're doing. So
like that famous band.
Yes,
is that what you're talking about?
No, not really. Sorry, Joel. I guess we're not on the same page.
I wasn't listening to the sermon.
I was drinking coffee outside, which we have here, and a lot of great donuts. But anyway, so this last week we're using the word Sabbath, which is vacation.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite moments at the beginning of the sermon, as you were talking, you showed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and you had everybody talking about it's morphin time. It's more, you got to morph, right? And so someone in the back, it was like perfect Presbyterianism, I guess, where you said, repeat after me. Remember you did the repeat after me? It's time to morph. Yeah.
Let us morph together.
Let us morph together.
Yes.
And I kid you not, I heard somebody in the back go, and also with you. And I was laughing so hard. Let's morph together. And also with you. And I was like, oh, man.
I think we noticed quite a few people yesterday who have a Catholic background, which is probably 50% of our population.
Yeah.
And when I talk to somebody who has a Catholic background, they usually say to me, with excusing it and just simply saying, I'm a recovering Catholic. So I'm not sure what that means, but I hear that a lot. But wherever you are in your faith, we're here for you. And we're so glad you're a part of what's happening at Malibu Pacific Church.
Absolutely. You had an amazing image up there as well, the Be Before You Do with Martha and Mary. And it was like the scales that was just really awesome. Where did that visual kind of come from, and what your thought behind that? Because I think it represented so much of our busy culture and wanting to do before just being.
Yeah, giving you some little, we're pulling back the curtain here with the podcast. Got that image literally. I took a picture of it and sent it to our graphic artist. Thank you, Madison. And it's from the book Emotionally Healthy Discipleship. And we are diving into this thing like crazy. It's really, last week I read it twice, literally, the book. And at the beginning of the book, he has that image. We fixed it a little bit, but and his whole point, Peter Scazzero, I can't say his name right. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Peter. But his point of discipleship, we've been doing discipleship wrong in the American church. That we've been overemphasizing the doing, and it's not helping people grow in their spiritual maturity. That actually doing is a part of it. If you remember the scale, if not, there's like a scale. But in the American church, we so overemphasize success.
Yes.
And a success in the church. And I think we as Americans we worship success and the success pastors. So I'm not going to make a comment about Hillsong and the latest. Is it on Netflix? I can't remember. Hulu.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll let that one go. But
Yeah.
that actually reminded me a little bit that it was all about the doing versus the being.
Yes.
Carl, who is the pastor there, he actually made a comment. He said, "I can't do this anymore."
Oh.
And that image, I'm doing.
Yep.
And he was leading out of empty versus being with God. And so, anyway, the image came from the Emotionally Healthy Discipleship book. And I'm actually going through it over and over and getting points for our series in September that we're going to be doing, talking about connecting with God, being with God, intimacy with God. I've had a few people make comments here at Malibu Pacific Church, and there's no shame in this. But they said, I have no idea when you say have an intimate relationship with God, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I've kind of been hanging on with that for a couple of years. And I think we're ready because we're going to launch our small groups in September. And that's where that's our place where we're helping everyone to make disciples. So, but just getting people in a small group is not good enough. We need to be intentional about it. And what is our discipleship process, which is teaching people to be with God before doing. And so really this series, Vacation Mode, is, don't tell anybody, but glad you're listening. Don't let this leave the podcast. We're talking about how to be with God.
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
There we go.
So long answer to that, but that's where it came from. That image.
Yeah.
I would just highly suggest get the book, read it. It's really, really good.
What was the name of the book one more time?
The Emotionally Healthy Discipleship. Emotionally Healthy Discipleship.
Absolutely.
Peter Scazzera. I'm butchering his name. Sorry, Peter.
Shannon and I started actually last week. We got it on Audible, so you can find it there if you're not a big reader. You just want to put that on
really good.
after this podcast or something like that too. It's really solid stuff. It's going to be a game changer here at Malibu Pacific Church. So
I think at the end of the sermon, I did talk a little bit about silence and listening, and I'm reading the book, and then I'm spent a couple days with my wife in Palm Springs and time together. When you stop, have a Sabbath, you're really forcing yourself to listen to God. And I was thinking it wasn't just to God. I really was listening to my wife. We had not had these kinds of conversations. I would say it's been 3 years because we were at Menlo Church for a year. It was nonstop, 24/7. COVID hit, pastor transition. I was Zoom meetings 12 hours a day. It was, and then we moved to Malibu, and it's like go. But when you take a Sabbath and stop, you really have a chance to listen. So I think we're not listening to God because we haven't stopped.
totally agree.
Yeah.
I think it was really valuable that you shared during the sermon that you took a 6-week sabbatical.
Yeah.
Was that during Santa Rosa time?
Santa Rosa, yeah.
And you mentioned that you kept doing, and that you're kind of in that cycle.
Well, that's why this book has been a confirmation of what I experienced 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was working out of my doing. I think I had the same experience as Carl a bit, as far as on the scale, it was way overdoing and not enough being, because that was my model. Do. And my history is with Methodism. So my dad, mom, Methodist pastors for years and years, still Methodist pastors, but the circuit riders of the 1800s in planting churches, I think with the Presbyterians and the Methodists, there were more Methodist churches than post offices. As the United States is going west. Well, a circuit rider would go from church to church on a horse and train the laity to pastor that church and go to the next one. The average circuit rider would die around 30 years old. They would wear themselves out because that was our model. Do until you die.
Wow.
Well, imagine if they had taken a Sabbath and taken care of themselves and lived to 60. Imagine the greater impact. We Methodists use that as our model of this is how Christianity should be. Today I look at it and I don't think that's healthy.
Totally. That was going to be my next question, was that 15 years ago
So that was
versus
my
now.
model. So sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the 15 years ago to now, and
Yeah.
feeling the do. Are you feeling like you're allowing or accepting that freedom to Sabbath more? Or since you're still the new guy on the block at Malibu Pacific, not really
Trying to,
new.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
trying to prove
yeah,
yourself. And
exactly. It's been two
you
and a half
do.
years.
You do.
Do you feel like that could be something that I don't know, could sneak in again because of the do factor? Because your personality is really awesome. Like I have a very similar personality in regards
Yeah.
of like, no, just do. We can go.
Well, we get energized.
Totally.
ENTPs get energized
Yeah.
by experience. So we want to
Absolutely.
try. We want to do things.
Yeah,
So there's a balance there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you finding a little more Sabbath these days, or like I don't know?
I have kept. I've had people ask me that. You have a lot of energy, and are you burning out or whatever? And I just I I don't feel like I was burning out. I felt like the last month or two, just to be brutally honest with you, I was losing my patience. I wasn't being patient, and love is patient. It's like, okay, something's not right. Why am I? I wasn't being patient with people, myself, and others. Let me just say this. I have been taking Fridays and Saturdays off. So I'm as energized to be in ministry as ever. I love what I do. I'm a startup guy. I love this. I just
Same.
love what we're doing. I love creating things. I'm not a maintainer. And so
Go build a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Don't maintain the lighthouse.
Exactly. That's me. So I actually get energized by that. I think the way that I survived personally in ministry the last 3 years is because I have taken a Sabbath.
Nice.
But the other side of the coin, I have felt the pressure. Two things were happening at this church, and I think every church in America, for all pastors listening to this,
Totally.
we were coming out of COVID, and every church in America are people coming back. It was a restart for every church. It's almost like a church plant. And this church had gone through a pastoral transition, which the previous pastor had been here 19 years. That's not easy. That's a long-term pastorate.
Yeah.
Typically a pastor, and I know this from Santa Rosa, I was there 21 years, the next person is the transitional pastor, and then the next one. So that's a lot of transition because people love the pastor. He had been here a long time. He was a fixture in the community. And so there's a pastor transition plus COVID. So it felt like, we gotta get this engine going because the plane is crashing here. And we don't know if people are coming back. You don't know. Every small church in America, are you going to make it?
Totally.
Barna-
So many people were leaving. People passed away. All of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. So I did feel the pressure, absolutely. And when you're new is to, I want to prove myself. Also, I want this to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I care about the local church and God's called us here. And so this matters. So there was extra work, but I was taking a Sabbath, but I feel like I got a little drained somewhere there too. So I was trying to figure that out. Where did I get a little, I lost a little gas. So it was a 3.5 year run from being at Menlo Church for a year and then 2.5 years here. And that's 3.5 years of working pretty hard, pretty fast.
Yeah.
But I was keeping a Sabbath. I was very aware of that because I experienced what you asked 15 years ago, don't burn out.
Totally.
I need a Sabbath. So I was keeping a Sabbath in those 3 years, but also it was a 3.5 year hard run. So it was kind of like, go to Palm Springs for a couple of days.
Absolutely. Have that freedom to do so. That's
Well,
so
I
good.
read, I feel like I came back on Sunday energized, and people even, I got a lot of just response. God and the Holy Spirit working, but I also felt fresh.
Yeah.
So
We all want to know, what'd you do in Palm Springs?
it was a study leave. I read a couple of books. I listened to a bunch of podcasts, and I did what a Sabbath is. I just stopped and journaled a little bit, and just ideas started flowing. So I had my computer and I just started getting ideas. And
That's amazing.
I'm an idea person. I get energized by that. So, and
So
then
what were some
I
of the
start
ideas?
emailing the staff. I say, okay, we need to try this. We need to try that. Okay. And my staff in Santa Rosa always said, we know when you're on vacation because you start sending us links and ideas and podcasts
Yep,
to listen to.
I got 4 new podcasts and 6 new books I got to go read. There was a really funny moment where you're like, I take off Friday and Saturday. And I was like, not this last week. No, just kidding. He totally did. He actually, something we really love about Andy is that he really does get energized by ministry and this. And so when he's taking a Sabbath, he's not just researching for his own personal gain. It's because he's thinking, whoa, this is an amazing thought process. This is an amazing tool. And he finally, he has a little bit more margin to just sit there in that kind of like thinking mode.
Yeah.
Man, I sit there too. I love the creative side. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When you get so many tasks put ahead of you and you can't sit in that creative side, then all of a sudden you start sending out all those emails. It has nothing to do with the actual workload. It's because that's like your bread and butter. That's like your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And so to find that new book, find that new resource, find that new, I don't even question, I think is awesome. What is a good resource?
I was just going to say ENTPs, we also get energized by experience, but we also get energized by ideas and new creative ideas.
All the time.
I think maybe I was taking a Sabbath, but I had not, I'm thinking out loud right now.
Yeah.
I hadn't taken time during the week. I even put it in my schedule study, but that always started getting bumped off. And actually it's not just study, it's idea time. It's thinking time. And I think I cheated myself on that.
Some think tank time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every leader needs time, margin to think. So anyway.
Yeah.
It just kind of hit me right now.
What was one of the big highlights of something that you found during your think tank time this last week? Like what was like a resource or something that you're like, oh, or a book or I don't know, a podcast? Like what brought you a little bit of life?
Yeah. Like I said, reading the book twice, Emotionally Healthy Discipleship. I really love Tony Morgan. His 20-minute podcasts are really, really great.
Awesome. Started
looking through all those resources. We use Church Fuel, and there's a ton of resources there that are extremely practical for the local church. And those are things that help create systems, which then I know is going to help alleviate a lot of things. So I was like, how do we go through some of those things? I do listen to Carey Nieuwhof and friends with Carey, and he's I think cutting edge on just some ideas and he has a good finger on the pulse on what's happening in culture.
Yeah.
So those are some of my resources. Yeah.
Awesome. So you can check those out. Again, Tony Morgan podcast, Carey Nieuwhof podcast, and good resources, and then Igniter. No.
Church Fuel.
Church Fuel. There we go. Church Fuel.
That's right.
There's so many of those names.
That's
I was
right.
thinking of Igniter Media in my mind.
Yeah.
Church Fuel. Check those out. Really great resources and actually really great questions about the local church and actually just businesses too. Really, really good stuff. All right. So Andy, thank you so much for just the words on Sabbath. And on top of that, making us all laugh, but also making us really think about how it's hard, or we tell ourselves it's hard to take a Sabbath when really it's what God is commanding us to do. Man, I was laughing so hard when you were talking about murdering somebody. If you haven't listened to the sermon again, go.
I didn't say that, did I?
Oh man,
it got edited, did it?
No, it's still there. You blacked out for a second too. It was wild.
Oops.
Yeah, so go listen to it. I'm telling you,
I was on a wire.
Yeah, church.
I was really.
Church.
I need to apologize. I'm not even sure what I said on Sunday. I apologize.
Man. It was good. Before you go and murder somebody, you need to take a Sabbath. No, I'm just kidding. Just 10 Commandments, and it's just all really good practical things, I think, for a believer and a non-believer who are here in this room. So again, thank you, Andy, for those words. And then on top of that, if you are listening to this podcast, please share that sermon with somebody who who needs a rest. I'm telling you, just a little bit of help, a little bit of support from you as a friend to a friend can really change a life. So with that said, thank you so much for listening to Now What Next Steps podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. Share this podcast with a friend. On top of that, hit that like button or the subscribe button so we can end up in your podcasts weekly. New episodes come out every Tuesday. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hand gestures about the sermon or anything else that's going on at the church, please send them to me at Joel at Malibu Pacific Church, Joel at MalibuPacific.church, Joel at MalibuPacific.church. And we would love to answer any of those questions. Again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Take care.